Welcome to our Helping Families Early webinar. Today we're taking steps together to join up the dots. This means we'll be launching the Helping Families Early strategy with you and the Family Resilience Networks. We'll be introducing the revised early help assessment, guidance and training to help practitioners empower families to make the changes they want to make. And we'll be celebrating what we already do, hearing from a range of partners as to how by helping families early, we are making a difference to the lives of children, young people and their families. Together in Surrey, we help families early, and this is a partnership approach that will help children and young people grow and achieve within their own families. It's what we do. I'll pass you over now to Jackie Burke, Director of Family Resilience and Safeguarding, to start the webinar.
Every conversation, every phone call, every meeting or offer of support that builds families' resilience is helping families early. Helping families early isn't a separate service, it's an activity undertaken by almost everyone who works with children and people and their families in whatever capacity, voluntary, statutory, and any of our universal services. So if you work in a school, in an early years setting, as in a GP, in the police. But there are also services whose entire function is to provide bespoke support to families and young people, such as our family support programs, our family centres, our targeted youth support. And children and young people with special education needs and disabilities have equal access to the help alongside the more specialist services they may require. So the concept of supporting families early is a real partnership approach with everyone playing their role at the right time in the right way. And at its core is a network of practitioners, that's you and your colleagues, who are confident and supported to help families early, creating a common language and messaging with the culture of we are early help, you are early help, I am early help. So that helping families early is something we all do rather than thinking it's a service we would refer to. So when we developed our Helping Families Early strategy, we worked with partners not only to set the vision for Surrey, but to understand what has been achieved so far and what still needs to happen. And what you said, what you told us during our workshops was, we're all doing it, we're all helping families early. That sometimes as practitioners, all we need is advice and guidance to know that we're doing the right thing and to know we're doing it safely. You told us you don't need panels, but we do need to know what help is available for families. And you told us that assessments and plans should build on strengths and be owned by the family. It should be less doing to and more doing with our families. And also you said we need consistent branding, as early help means different things to so many different people. So today you will hear how listening to these key statements has shaped our approach in Surrey. So in terms of our statutory guidance, Working Together 2018 is for multi-agency working, and it highlights the expectation of working with agencies to keep children safe and deliver early help. Our Helping Families Early strategy is how we will bring to life this is a real partnership endeavour in Surrey, how together we will really invoke our statutory responsibilities. So what we've done is, you can see, we've changed the way we describe it. So how can we help families early? How can the family be helped to connect with the right support? Who else can help too? And who can we allocate to specifically to help? So in this, we recognise that early help is not a single service. That's why we're calling it Helping Families Early. It refers both to help in the critical years of life, including pre-birth and pregnancy, and also to responding as soon as possible at any age through childhood and adolescence when difficulties emerge. Helping Families Early is an approach. It's not a single service or even a group of service. It's what we do. Surrey County Council helps families early by delivering and commissions some level 2 and level 3 services, by providing information on services through the Family Information Service and offering you supporting guidance through the CSPA and the team around the quadrant. But early help is so much more, provided by schools, early years settings, police, health services and the voluntary faith and community sectors. Helping Families Early is about matching the needs of the family to the right support at the right time in the right way. So our strategy brings together the key components of how, as a partnership, we help families early in Surrey now, and our strategy for the future. We believe that we can help families by building on their strengths, by forming relationships and connecting families to their communities. We know that getting help at the right time in the right way can prevent poor outcomes for children. The strategy is a call to action. As a partnership, we are all helping families early, and we can help each other to do this by having an effective partnership strategy that brings together the key actions that will make the most difference to children. Together, we have put the foundations in place to now build on the next phase that helps families early over the next 3 years. So our ambitions, and they are our ambitions, are what can children and young people expect from the partnership Helping Families Early strategy? We want them to say, I feel safe, valued and respected. I'm recognised as an individual. I'm free from any discrimination. I will be at the centre of any decisions that I will only need to tell my story once. My voice will be heard and I will influence the planning of help and services. And it will be understood that things have happened to me that might affect me at different times in my life when I might need some extra support. And we say that parents and carers can expect that they're recognised as individuals, that their families have diverse needs, that their views and opinions are listened to. So today we're taking steps towards joining up the dots. We're launching our Helping Families Early strategy, promoting our campaign and our family resilience networks. We're introducing the revised early help assessment that will help you understand the help you're giving to families, and it will really guide families to understand the help that you're providing for them so that they can see the difference we're all making together. Most of all, we're celebrating what we already do. We're hearing from partners how by helping families early, we're making a difference to the lives of children, young people and their families. So it's about you, it's about us, and it's about children in our community. So thank you again for joining us today. You're going to now watch a short video of me in conversation with Simon Hart, who is our independent scrutineer of Surrey Safeguarding Children Partnership. So I hope you enjoyed the conference today and I look forward to catching up with you at the end. Hello, I'm Jackie Burke and I'm the Director for Safeguarding and Family Resilience, and I'm really happy to be talking to you today about our Helping Families Early strategy. Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Hart and I'm the independent chair and scrutineer of the Safeguarding Children Partnership in Surrey, and very pleased to be joining you just for a short while today.
So Simon, we're really happy that you're able to take time with us to think about our Helping Families Early strategy and the big launch we're doing today. So just wanted to start with asking you what your thoughts are on the name of our strategy, the Helping Families Early bit.
Well, I like it. I think that it has an emphasis on what we are trying to do by way of supporting families who might be facing different challenges. I think it personalizes it more towards the approach that we're trying to develop in Surrey. And I hope that it's something that can be, as a concept, very easily understood across all of the partners. Because I do really believe that the support that some families need will be delivered by many of the different partners, including, those who are working in schools and supporting families in that way too.
Yes, I mean, we were quite deliberate in some ways about choosing this as a title because, we recognise that so many of our partners are doing amazing support with children and their families, but often don't recognise it as that they are doing the Helping Families Early, that they are the early help. So I really like the link to our partners and how they're going to be helping us. And I just wondered, in terms of your role as the scrutineer of the Safeguarding Children Partnership in Surrey, what ideas you have about the growing maturity of the partnership and its ability to support our...
Well, what I do think is that if you go into statutory guidance and look at early help, one of my concerns over a number of years has been that when people talk about early help, often they will think about children's social care. And, my sense is that when you look carefully at the guidelines, it's about all kinds of other contributions beyond children's social care. But I do think that by trying to develop an approach that is more personal to the work that you're trying to do in Surrey, then it enables us, I think, to begin to recognise a lot of existing work that is already being delivered by different partners. But sometimes, and I don't think that this is unique to Surrey, some partners don't realise that they're actually providing what otherwise might have been regarded as early help. So things like, some of the pastoral care that takes place in schools, some of the work that the local police force will do with youth groups, for example, all very, very important supportive work, gets more closely into mentoring. And I think also just engages people more fully themselves in the support that they may need. I do think, I do like the approach around family resilience, because it just seems to me that I choose to believe that most families have got a degree of resilience. That does not stop them from running into difficulty from time to time and needing some additional support. But I think that if, as a group of partners with the different skills and the different experience that partners bring to the table, helping to draw out the resilience that exists in all families is key. And I think that if that builds confidence into those families in the way in which they move forward, then that, to me, would be a job well done.
I completely agree. And we know that for the majority of families, they can be helped at an earlier stage. And that for most families, they don't need statutory involvement in their lives through children's social care, nor do they want it. Because we know that in Surrey, we've got a wealth of voluntary faith community sectors, as well as a really strong universal services that are really close to families and close to communities, and often more attuned to that local need. And families are often much more receptive to being helped by those organisations. And we know that if you, in terms of your willingness, your ability to change, if you feel you're engaged in that with people who are close, who know you, and you haven't got the fear of statutory power, that often can be more enabling. Clearly, there are families for whom absolutely they need a statutory support to enable them to change. But for the majority of families, it's fantastic if they can be helped by more local, community-based and non-statutory services.
Well, I do agree, Jackie, that no one likes to be done to. And I think that more often than not, you come across practitioners who have tremendous experience because of the nature of the work that they do. And I'm talking here about practitioners across all kinds of different disciplines. But it seems to me that one of the things that we invest in is their judgment. And I think that where you're able to match practitioners carefully alongside the needs of families, where there can be some kind of understanding and relationship built up, that when practitioners are then able to use their initiative, not to be kind of over constrained by criteria for services, thresholds and levels of need, but that there is a degree of flexibility. They can then use their judgment. And I do think that when you have practitioners across different agencies that are working well together, and that they're pooling their knowledge and judgment, and they're applying it then to the way in which a family would choose to function, then we become so much stronger. And I do think that we see evidence of good work that is done jointly between schools and children's social care. You see good combinations of work around youth services and the police and social care. And it seems to me that where we can enable that to work well, and I think where there can be a degree of flexibility about the options that become available, then I do think that there is an opportunity for families to thrive with that kind of support.
The words that you use that are so important to this conversation are about need. And as a partnership, I think we've made a real effort to move away from a constant focus on risk, because that often frightens our practitioners and our partners from really meeting the needs of children. If we can focus on talking about need and looking at it in relationship to the risk, and we can be more enabling of other partners to really help families move and really help families make a difference.
I agree, because what I do see is that from time to time, some of the tensions that do exist between different partner organizations can really arise because there is uncertainty about the way in which risk is being managed, how it's managed differently. I think that sometimes we're not always clear about where the risk actually rightly lies within the family, because that's where it should be.
Yeah.
But I do think that I see in Surrey that there is a growing understanding and support for the family resilience approach. I think it is understandable that where you draw around the family a number of agencies, that there needs to be a period over which the family resilience approach is able to develop and to mature, and where practitioners of different organizations understand the contributions that they can make. They do actually understand how risk can be managed, and that they are more relaxed about the way in which they may hold risk for a period as need is being met within different families. I don't think that it's easy. I think that it's quite complex. I think that the introduction of a model does take some time to mature. And I think that one of the things that we need to work on hard as a partnership is trying to make sure that we can take some of the tension out of that, and do it in such a way that the families themselves and young people themselves feel as though here you've got people of experience who are working hard and challenging themselves in such a way that those families and young people can be the beneficiaries.
Absolutely. So I think in terms of us as a partnership, it sounds like we've got your entire backing for our strategy, our Helping Families Early strategy. We're really looking forward to feeding back to you as a scrutineer about the success, but also enjoying Helping Families Early. So thank you, Simon.
Thank you, and I hope everyone has a good morning or afternoon in the webinar.
Great.
Take care.
So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Lisa Bursell. I'm the Assistant Director for the Children's Single Point of Access and Early Help. So I have the privilege of supporting and delivering on this strategy with you as partners. So where did it all begin? Well, it all began with a little session in County Hall, working with Lego, trying to visualise with partners, what does a vision for Surrey look like when we talk about helping families early? So we talked a lot about what we've achieved so far, because we have achieved a lot as a partnership, and we looked at what still needs to happen. So what still needed to happen was that we had a multi-agency workshop to look at the strategy, and we also had a multi-agency task and finish group that looked at the early help assessment and the plan. So what did our partners say? So during our workshops, our partners told us that they recognise that we all help families early, that sometimes as practitioners we just need advice and guidance, that we don't necessarily need panels, but that we do really need to know what's available for families. We talked about assessments and plans and how these should really build on family strengths, very much owned by the family, and there should be less of doing to and more of doing with. And we talked about the need for consistent branding, as early help means different things to different people. And so you'll hear today through the strategy and through all of the wonderful videos that we've got, how that's shaped our approach in Surrey. So there is some statutory guidance around this. Working Together to Safeguard Children 2018 is the statutory guidance for how, as a multi-agency, we work together. And this highlights our expectations of working with agencies, not only to keep children safe, but how we help children early. The Helping Families Early strategy is how we in Surrey are going to bring early help to life. So hopefully after today, we will all start talking a new language. It won't be as difficult as learning French or German as that was for me in school, but we'll be talking about how can we help families early? How can family be helped to connect with the right support? And who else can help too? Because that might be their neighbour, their family, a community support, or it might mean us allocating to targeted youth support, family support programme, family centres to help, things that are more targeted level 3. So we'll hopefully after today, we'll no longer hear refer to early help, I'm allocating to early help, or that there's this thing over here called early help that has a magic wand. It's something that we're all doing, and it's something that families might find within their own resources. So once we describe it, what does it actually mean? So in Surrey, Helping Families Early is an approach. Helping Families Early refers to both helping the critical years of a child's life, and that includes pre-birth and pregnancy, as much as it means responding as soon as possible at any age through the through childhood or adolescence when any difficulties emerge. Helping Families Early in Surrey is an approach. It's not a single service or even a group of services. It's just what we do, and you'll hear a lot of about that today. So there are some things that we offer through Surrey County Council, and Surrey County Council helps families early by commissioning some level 2 services and some level 3 services. And we also provide information on what services are out there through the Family Information Service. We can also provide advice and guidance via the CSPA and the team around the quadrant, which again you'll hear a little bit more about later in the presentation. But early help is also provided by each of you in schools, in your early years settings. It's provided by the police, health services, and it's very much provided by the voluntary and community sector. So it's about all of us understanding what the needs of a family are, how we can provide the right support for that at the right time and in the right way. So, Helping Families Early strategy 2020 to 2023, what are we going to do in the next 3 years? So the strategy brings together key components of how, as a partnership, we help families early in Surrey now and our strategy for the future. We believe that we can help families by building on their strengths, forming relationships and connecting families to their communities. We know that getting help in the right way at the right time can prevent poor outcomes for children and their families. The strategy is a call to action. As a partnership, we are all helping families early, and we can help each other to do this by having an effective partnership strategy that brings together the key action that will make a real difference to our children in Surrey. Together, we have put the foundations in place, and now we want to build on this strategy over the next 3 years together. So if I'm a child living in Surrey, if I'm a parent living in Surrey, what would this feel like? As a child, I will feel safe, valued and respected, and I'll be recognised as an individual free from any discrimination. I will be at the centre of all of the decision making, and I will only need to tell my story once. My voice will be heard and will influence the planning and help of services. It will be understood that things that have happened to me might affect me in times of my life differently, and I might need some extra support. As a parent, I'm recognised as an individual who has unique characteristics and needs, and I'm free from discrimination. The diverse needs of all of my family will be recognised. My views and my opinions are listened to, and I'm encouraged to support my family. is recognise that some of my past and current experiences may impact me as a parent, and it will be understood that I may need support in other areas of my life to be a really great parent. When things get tough, I know the relationship I have with my friends and my community will help me. So that's what it will feel like as a child, as a parent, as a practitioner in Surrey. What we're going to move on to is Leslie's going to work you through the framework of how we're going to take this call to action today and make it happen as a reality in Surrey. So I'll pass over to you, Leslie.
Thank you, Lisa. So I'm going to talk to you about family resilience networks. And these networks aim to be a vehicle for us promoting and taking those next steps forward for helping families early. They are a network of our services that support families with representatives from our schools, early years settings, our special schools, from our family resilience and safeguarding teams, from the police, health and the voluntary and community sector in the quadrants. These family resilience networks are not to replace the local networks that have been happening successfully, where people are working together in their localities and making a difference to families, children and young people. What we are aiming to do is to bring together people from those representative organisations in each quadrant to take a bigger overview and collectively understand the needs of and a lived experience of children in each quadrant. And what's that telling us about what we've got on offer? Have we got the right offer in place? If we have, that's wonderful. If we need more of something or less of something, what can we do collectively to be able to create an offer that is right for that community? We're looking in those networks about how we join up the services that are available with the children and families that need that help. And we will hear a little bit later on about a project that Jackie has actually been working on. And I've forgotten the name of it, Jackie. It's just gone out of my head. What is the name of it?
Little Help Shop.
Shop. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going to hear about the Little Help Shop later, which has been talking to children and families about how they can best find and use the information that's available for them.
Yeah, so Leslie, that's just a working title for now, the Little Help Shop. We will come up with, we may come up with something else, but certainly be looking forward to hearing from that.
Thank you. So the group can look at best practice, the skills of practitioners in the quadrant. Are there more things that people need? Have we got a parenting offer in the community that is meeting the needs of families? And how do we know whether it is or not? And we want to look at opportunities to collaborate and do things differently and go back to our commissioning colleagues or look at different ways that our services can be commissioned so that we're actually meeting the needs of families in a really comprehensive way together. So family resilience networks and colleagues sitting around the table and their organisations behind them are the vehicle to make that happen. And this is what we've come up with in terms of the priority actions from the strategy. The family resilience networks will be looking at these priorities and thinking about the way we can all play a part to deliver them. The team around the quadrant, which I'll be introducing to you in the next slide, will be helping the family resilience networks and other colleagues that are out in our communities to deliver on this strategy. They'll be helping, along with partners, to understand what the needs are in a community, bringing information from our family centres, from our district and boroughs, from the community itself, from our level 2 commission services, so that we understand the stories and the themes that are coming up from our families and the work we're doing. Also from the CSPAR, from the demands that we're finding coming through when people make a request for support. Also from the consultation line, when people are contacting, professionals contacting our safeguarding consultation line to talk through the issues that are facing families. So we have a wealth of information that we can use and bring together to help us to understand what's happening. The Little Help Shop Family Information Service, the directory of services we have, as well as the range of other things that are out there to support families and also to support professionals to find the right service. those are the pieces of work that we need to be doing. We're reviewing the Family Information Service so that we can do that signposting. How we respond as a partnership, and we've heard a lot today about our equal responsibilities, our contribution that we're making to helping families early, our accountabilities for becoming involved with families, for being professionally curious as soon as we find that there is something that is not going as it should for a family. How our colleagues, how our workforce is trained, what have we got on offer that we can support them so that they are equipped to be able to deliver the services that families need? And how do we know we're actually making any difference at all? So those priority actions will form the basis for our family resilience networks. And Surrey County Council is providing that additional support through our team around the quadrant to actually be feet on the ground, if you like, to make some of that happen. So these are the roles that are in the Early Help Partnerships team or in the Single Point of Access team. These work together and will come together to support the family resilience networks. The community connectors, there's one in each quadrant, and they are looking around in the community to make sure that we've understood and have on the Family Information Service directory the services that are out there for families. They also have a role in connecting families to their community. Our parenting coordinators are experts in understanding the needs and the parenting offer that would meet those needs, and are able to support our providers in family centres, family support programme, our targeted youth service colleagues, and also the community sector, schools and others, about a good parenting offer that can meet the needs in the community. They're also leading in each quadrant, the team around the quadrant, so we have a coordination role that they play. The Family Centre advisors support our family centres across Surrey and are supporting our family support programme as well, so that the themes that we're finding through their support at level 3 is fed into that understanding the need of families in the quadrant. They will also feed that information back to those level 3 services to see what needs to be added to their offer. Our locality early help advisors support schools. They're able to guide schools and support schools to complete early help assessments and to lead a team around the family. They also offer training and have been attending the dedicated safeguarding leads training. Family Information Service advisors are able to be contacted if you can't find a service, or if you're offering a service you want to advertise through the directory. They will help us to do that. And our family group conferencing colleagues are a team that help us understand the wider available support through families and the networks that can be developed that can support families from their own extended family of friends and their community. Jackie said at the beginning, and Lisa also mentioned earlier, about the early help assessment and the work our workshops put together to support the creation of a new early help assessment. So as part of the development of the Helping Families Early strategy, this multi-agency workshop came up, had a requirement to look at certain things. And their aim was to come together to ensure that the early help assessment didn't act as a barrier to engagement for families or for practitioners. They looked at what was some good practice from other local authorities, but they also looked again at what was on offer and had worked well. They agreed to agree a set of principles, which you can see on the slide, a family-friendly form, and guidance that will support practitioners that builds on this family resilience model of practice. The approach is to ensure that the early help assessment is part of an assessment process which can and should be informed by other assessments used by different professionals. The aim is to empower both families and practitioners to look at the child's developmental needs, the family and environmental factors, as well as the parenting capacity for families who want to make changes and how they want to do it. With the right help at the right time, supported and coordinated and championed by the most appropriate practitioner, we can collectively help families early and support the lives of our children and young people in Surrey. The new form has been created and new guidance document, and that is now available on the Surrey County Council website. And we have now created some new early help assessment training, which will be on the Surrey Safeguarding Children Partnership website, and that will be starting in November. We've heard a lot this morning about our strategy, and it's been great to hear from Jackie and from Lisa about our ambitions, our priorities, and what we can do collectively to bring this strategy to life. We've also heard a lot about what our partners and Surrey County Council are already doing. And this part of our webinar is a celebration of all of the things that stories from some of our service providers, and also from our schools, and some community projects that really do bring the strategy to life and give us ideas about what it is all about. What does helping families early mean? It looks like what you're about to see. So there are 3 sections. The first section is about being child-centred, the second about being family-focused, and the third section about how we connect children and families to their community. We know that each child, young person and family is unique and has their own life story. We're going to hear now from Surrey Youth Focus and Surrey Police, our Young Carers Service, from Woking High School and Saxon Primary School, about how we can and do change the outcomes for children and young people when we keep them at the centre of all we do.
My name is Kate Yoon-Smith and I am the Chief Executive of Surrey Youth Focus. I'm delighted to be telling you about a movement that we're creating in Surrey called Time for Kids. We very much hope that you will join this movement. Back in 2018, I had a conversation with Chris Hickford, the founder and Chief Executive of the Icon charity. We were wondering why, despite all of our wealth and scientific knowledge, some children in Surrey don't thrive and fulfil their potential, with complex and interlinked problems such as domestic abuse, poverty, violence, mental health issues blighting their lives during childhood and lifelong. We wanted to try a new approach, so we sought out a small group of strategic thinkers to reflect on these issues. And we handpicked a few more people to join the group to have these conversations. We met every couple of months to reflect on children's needs and experiences. The group felt that the system in Surrey had not always served children as well at night. Over time, circumstances have led us to manage risk in relation to our organisations rather than being confident in making the best decision for the child. In one particularly memorable session, we heard the highly articulate voices of boys from Morehouse School in Farnham, describing some of the challenges they have faced and how they tackled them. Our group came up with 5 principles. 1. Being crazy about the kid, focusing on human connection with a child with patience and passion to achieve the very best for all children and young people. 2. Every child or young person needs a consistent relationship with at least one adult that they trust. 3. Every child needs to be able to tell their story and learn to hope. 4. Every child needs a sense of belonging and encouragement to shine. 5. We all need to believe in the child or young person and what they can achieve. We decided we needed a name for these principles, and thus Time for Kids was born. We hope to encourage every organisation and professional that is working with kids in Surrey to be inspired by the principles. We want to reignite and strengthen the passion and vocation in all of us working with children and young people, putting children at the centre of all that we do so that they can fulfil their potential. So what does Time for Kids look like in reality? We want Time for Kids to encourage you to have transformative conversations with your colleagues and partners so that all frontline practitioners are enabled to do the very best that they can to serve children and young people. There is no blueprint for Time for Kids. Everyone and every organisation has a different role within the system. Therefore, it will not look the same everywhere. You do not need to ask us permission to use Time for Kids. Please feel free to just start using the principles in your daily work. As you know, Dave Hill very sadly passed away suddenly earlier this year. He passionately believed in the Time for Kids principles and was a key member of the group. We want Time for Kids to be part of his legacy. We ask that you consider what Time for Kids means. For the young people you know, what are their expectations of us? And consider what it means for your role, for your organisation, and for the system. When talking with other organisations, you might like to use Time for Kids principles as a starting point for your conversation. I hope that you're inspired by what you have heard so far and are asking yourself the question, how can I use Time for Kids to inspire new ways of working? Thank you very much for listening.
Hello, everybody. I'm Superintendent Sally Slimpatcher from Surrey Police, the strategic lead for child safeguarding across the county for Surrey. So I am so pleased that I've been allowed an opportunity to present to you today. And I'm even more proud of the work that we're doing within Surrey Police to change our culture, a culture from criminalising children to putting the voice of the child first. And it's about making a difference to families. It's about our new and innovative work with our partners in children's services, within our police single point of access, and working closely with our children single point of access teams, so that we have the correct pathways available for making sure that families and children are given the best opportunity to improve their lives. So what does it mean for Surrey Police? Well, it's about us trying to think differently. It's about us not criminalising children, trying to understand what are the pinch points for families and to try and reduce the issues that are impacting children and to try and prevent them from turning to crime. So it's about helping those families. It's about investing in multi-agency work so that we work hand in hand with our partners in children's services, mental health, the Surrey County Council and other partners at a strategic level, so that we have the processes there. And the way that we're doing that is through a number of things. First of all, it's through an approach called Time for Kids, where we are now asking our officers and our staff, whenever they attend an incident, then to give that time for kids. And that's basically what it says on the tin. So when we go to a domestic abuse incident, for example, where you have two adults that have been involved in an incident, and there are children within that house setting, for us, it's making sure that officers are actually listening to those children, looking at their lived experiences. Is there anything that could be impacting on their safety, on their health and well-being, and making sure that we don't forget that, making sure that they have a voice too, because they are victims in their own right. And we know that the domestic abuse bill is coming out hopefully imminently in the next year, which will put that on a statutory footing. But it's about allowing the voice of the child to come through. And the early help model that we're rolling out across Surrey Police, which is so innovative for us. And we've tried it across 2 boroughs already across the county, where we totally transform our approach. So we work with partners, as I've spoken about earlier on, to try and see what opportunities there are for that family to try and get that early intervention, that early help, and that we work with them. We have a single point of contact for that family with the police and other partner agencies, and then we share information so that we can signpost those families and those children to get that right help. It's also about our approach and our commitments that we've made and our Chief Constables made to the communities of Surrey, which is a problem-solving force. So we want to be in the cutting edge of solving problems. So rather than waiting it to be too late and families and children are criminalised. We want to try and get in early and help those children and those families. So you'll start to see a new approach from Surrey Police to try and get into that space by using an OSARA model, which is an approach that we use to problem solve. And part of that means redesigning and refocusing our child and missing exploited teams throughout the county to focus on being proactive and really focus on safeguarding through partnerships. And that relies on multi-agency approach. So it's really working closely, as I've said earlier on, with our partners, sharing that information and actually trying to make the families and the children reach their full potential. And we know that various factors impact on that. So as a police service, we want to play our part with our partners to try and really impact and release that full potential that families and children have. So I'm really proud that Surrey Police are really open and willing to change and actually change our culture to being a law enforcement, which is what primarily our role, but actually to turn it around the other way and try and be a force that wants to help, give that early help to families, and only consider criminalising children if we absolutely need to do it and there are no alternative options. So for us, it's a fantastic moment for us to share the fantastic work that we're doing. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Dave Bentley. I am the Borough Commander here in Woking. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes just telling you what we're doing here to help young people in our community. Now, we've been running an early help pilot now for a few months where we're specifically focusing on children who suffer trauma or adverse childhood experiences, as well as those that may be at emerging risk of exploitation here in the community. So basically the core principle of what we're trying to do with early help is expand how many children we can support in our community and take a real problem-solving approach to what they might have suffered in the past and what help and support we can give, not only from a policing perspective but also from a partnership. So we look at three main entry routes into how we can help children. So the first one is those that are emerging risk of exploitation. The children that cause us the most demand as a policing service, but that could be across victims, witnesses, suspects, missing. And then the third one is through identification from frontline officers or reviewing officers where we've seen adverse childhood experiences and we can signpost as early as possible to provide some help. So what we do is we expand our problem solving across the whole of my neighbourhood team. So that's PCs, PCSOs, sergeants, youth engagement officers. We'll have at least one young person to problem solve, interact with partners about, so we can look at addressing and helping with any problems long term. Our youth engagement officer remain the specialists. They look at 5 or 6 children that need those complex help or support. And the aim of our work and activity is to problem solve for the long term, provide that partnership help and support and that interaction with the child or young person to try and make their life better and reduce demand not only on us as a policing service but our partners as well. One of the key benefits I've seen already in the trial here in Woking has been the closer working relationship between neighbourhood policing and public protection. The introduction of the early help coordinator into the Peace Bar has made a real difference, and the contact that we have with each other has provided a lot of information from a partnership perspective about how we can help these young people, which has been fantastic. We've already seen this work can make a difference with young people in our community, and one thing I've learned actually already is that this is a long-term process. Problem solving of this nature with children with complex needs to think long-term prevention and how we can all work together to support these young people in our community. It's not about the criminalisation of young people or children, it's about that supportive partnership working that can prevent them receiving negative outcomes, whatever that be in a partnership area such as policing, health, social care, education. It's about giving them the best opportunities possible for those young people. Our work, in turn, will help those young people reach their full potential.
Hello, I'm Amanda Yarker, Assistant Manager for the Young Carer Service, Surrey Young Carers, Action for Carers Surrey. Action for Carers is a carer-led charity that helps unpaid carers of all ages right across Surrey with information, support and advice. So who are carers? A carer is anyone who cares, unpaid, for a friend or family member who cannot cope without their support. They may look after someone with a physical or long-term illness. This may be a physical disability, frailty due to old age, a learning disability like autism, a mental health concern like depression, or drug or alcohol misuse. A young carer is someone under the age of 18 who provides this type of care. There are over 14,000 young carers in Surrey under the age of 18, so that is 2 to 3 in every classroom. Early identification and help is so important to young carers, as the sooner children and young people can identify as a young carer, the sooner they get the help they need and the better their life chances are likely to be. Surrey Young Carers helps by offering a range of early intervention and prevention support. We take a whole family approach by including families in a young carer's needs assessment, and we make sure they can access the right advice, signposting and support. Our dedicated teams work in partnership with schools and colleges, social care and health services, GPs and voluntary sector organisations to make sure they help to identify and support young carers early and offer appropriate interventions at the right time. Our events, outings and meetups provide valuable respite from caring responsibilities and gives young carers the chance to meet others and enjoy being a child or young adult for a few hours. We provide one-to-one practical and emotional support aimed at reducing barriers to ensure young carers can enjoy and achieve just like their peers. We listen and advocate on behalf of young carers and their families to ensure their voice is heard and they are getting the right support, because the right help at the right time reduces inappropriate or excessive caring roles and in turn the impact and pressure on young carers and their family. This early identification means they know someone is looking out for them and they do not have to cope alone. Finally, since COVID-19, a recent Carers Trust survey tells us young carers' mental health is worse and they're feeling more stressed. Most young carers are more worried about the future and are feeling less connected to others. Some young carers report an increase of 30 hours or more in the amount of time they spend caring each week. During this time, it is more vital than ever that young carers do not fall under the radar and that we acknowledge the risk factors. Like other children and young people, they have goals and aspirations, and it is our responsibility to act early and work together to improve their life chances and outcomes.
At Saxon, we recognise the importance of ensuring our children and families receive the right support at the right time. This short video will give a brief overview of some of the early help work we do throughout the school in order to support our families. This slide highlights some of the early help support that we offer our children and families. We have a full-time homeschool link worker who supports families in many different ways, including through one-to-one meetings, coffee mornings, regular calls to parents, directing parents to resources and relevant parenting courses, and referring to outside agencies for further support when required. Her support to families often means that early intervention can take place before a situation could potentially escalate. Our homeschool link worker, alongside her colleagues from across the Trust, also offer parenting courses such as Parenting Puzzle. Again, this ensures that parents can be directed to the course when they require such help without having to be referred to an external agency and without having to join a potentially lengthy waiting list. On some occasions, and when deemed to be appropriate, our homeschool link worker has also offered similar but more tailored support to parents on a one-to-one basis. One of our teaching assistants is also trained as an ELSA, an emotional literacy support assistant.
She attended the full training course delivered by Surrey EPs and also accesses regular EP supervision. Our ELSA is able to support a range of individuals as soon as they show signs of requiring additional support. She supports children on a one-to-one basis with managing anxiety, dealing with parental separation, coping with bereavement, living with trauma, and building relationships. She has also successfully led nurture groups and anxiety groups. The children are often given a range of strategies to help them manage better in the classroom and at home. For several years now, we have arranged for individual children to access art therapy sessions and counselling sessions by external professionals. Whilst this support requires a significant financial commitment, the support has been invaluable and many individuals have made significant progress across the years, on some occasions reducing a child's risk of exclusion and preventing the need for further outside agency involvement. The following case study illustrates the support which was put in place for an individual pupil, including art therapy support and the positive impact that such support had on the child and family. In 2016 to 17, the child's parents separated. This change in the child's family dynamics led to a significant change in his behaviour, emotional state and ability to regulate his emotions throughout the next academic year. The child received several fixed-term exclusions and was very much at risk of permanent exclusion. Over the course of the following year, intensive early help support from school for both the child and his parents resulted in a significantly positive change. The child began weekly art therapy sessions, which equipped him with strategies to help him manage his anger and frustration and to explore his feelings about his family situation. The senior leadership team and homeschool link worker heavily supported parents and PSP meetings took place. The inclusion manager began the EHCP process. School also liaised with the STIPS team in Surrey and made many changes to the child's provision, including attending a calm club at lunchtime, a time which the child found particularly difficult. By the spring term of 2019, the child's attendance had increased from 75% to 98% as a result of no further exclusions that academic year, and the child was able to attend school on a full-time basis with success. Whilst the child was previously at risk of permanent exclusion, the early help he received at school and the intensive art therapy work enabled him to go on to attend a mainstream secondary school and for him to become more confident in managing challenging situations.
Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Crowley and I'm lead DSL and assistant head teacher at Woking High School. I wanted to share a case study of a student and a family that we've worked with where we feel like our early help approach, working with both in-house provision and also external agencies, has made a difference, both in the family life and also in the students' life and progress at school. This student first came to our attention from primary school in transition, where we found out that the family had suffered quite severely from a range of ACEs in their past, particularly for this student. It was between the age of 0 and 5, where dad had become an alcoholic, and that had been manifested in quite severe domestic violence in the home. This student remembers at the age of 5, almost 6, crawling in between mum and dad, and sadly dad had knocked mum unconscious. And after that time, eventually mum and dad split and support was put in place for them. But Ryan still remembers that time. He also remembers, sadly, him actually being in the supermarket and pointing out where the alcohol was to his dad. And his dad obviously then buying the alcohol and such, and that still is in the student's mind, and the guilt and the blame that student has. At junior school, he was well supported through the ELSA programme, and mums accessing help and support through Your Sanctuary. And when they arrived with us in year 7, it was felt that we would monitor and support in the usual way, but that it appeared things had been dealt with, contact was still not being had with dad, and there was a stable support network at home. And that was the case. In year 7 and 8, things were okay. And then there was an incident in year 9 where the student sadly, out of the blue, jumped over a fence and went missing. And when we caught up with them and talked through and unpicked the reasons why, he had just started to reconnect with Dad at that time, got to the age where he wanted to and felt the need to. But sadly, Dad was rushed to hospital and suffered and still does suffer quite badly from the effects of the alcoholism. So that sense of guilt and the other things came back to the fore again. At the time, we began a TAF approach with Mum, and once again made sure that she had her support through Your Sanctuary with the work they were providing for her. We suggested, because this lad was very tall, extremely tall for his age, we suggested looking at Marfan's syndrome and potentially any side effects that may have, both on mental health and physical health. So Mum then explored that through the GP, and we offered support in school. And we set up in-school counselling. At the time, we bought the counselling in for this particular student, but it was to explore the kind of relationship between him and Dad and what that meant for him, and having a chance to talk and address that. And that did have a positive impact. He was a lot more open about it and felt that he had a way to try and get through it. There was another trigger incident in year 10. We've been looking at the impact of domestic violence in PSHE, and even though he knew about it, it triggered some thoughts again. So we increased the frequency of counselling, and it almost coincided with lockdown coming in. So we ensured that counselling remained during lockdown, and that he had his counsellor, but also myself as someone that knew him quite well, and assistant head teacher. I used to check on him every week and just have a kind of fun chat about what's going on and what's positive in his life and everything else to try and see him through that. And again, that seemed to be a support which got him through. We actually had them come in during lockdown for one-to-one counselling face to face, and it seemed to be making an impact. We then sadly had a third trigger, which was really because of the support and the early help that was there, in that he then started opening up about some intrusive thoughts he was having because of the feeling of guilt and resentment toward Dad, and the anger that had built up in him because of those situations. He was starting to have intrusive thoughts about hurting people. So we had to refer to CAMHS and to CAMHS Crisis. And following the work with CAMHS and through CAMHS Crisis, we agreed together to come up with a safety plan and then a result risk assessment in school, because in school was absolutely the right place for him to come and to have that kind of protective factor around him. The risk assessment was designed so that there was a very easy to understand RAG system where he would be checked each morning and would be able to RAG himself, and then there would be various things happening depending on the level of concern there was. The counselling support continued and was continuing even during half term, with the counsellor being able to do the RAG system as well as us do it in school. We also reached out to his, or they also reached out to us, his cadet force, because he's actually training to be he is a cadet and wants to go into the police force. And they were able to give us a very positive picture of him during that time, and actually said that he's one of their best. And they offered some talk about how they deal with mental health issues within the police force. And actually, it's quite normal for their police officers sometimes to have negative thoughts and intrusive thoughts because of the amount of things they have to deal with and the support they put in place and how they help them through it. And we're also working with that cadet force to make sure that he goes and takes part in a leadership qualification, because they feel that he's right for that. All of that together and making sure Mum had that support through Your Sanctuary, making sure that we provided the counselling for him in school. We've actually employed the counsellor now. They're part of our staff team and are more accessible. And that work with him and the cadet force, so that he knows that he can trust us all that are working with him, has really helped. He still has his up and down days. He reports green as most of the time, which is great, and he feels like he can cope, but he knows we're also there to help him on that daily basis. And the most wonderful thing during half term was he sent us a picture of him, Mum and sister, and they bought a dog, and just the smiles on their faces, knowing that they've got that to look forward to, and that's with them at home as well, was brilliant. So the early help approach, right from the work with primary school through to the work with the cadets, with the counsellor, with CAMS, really has provided that supportive bubble, which has meant that that family can overcome those issues, and you know, hopefully that he can go on and be successful both in his life and with his academic studies. So without it, it would have been a very different picture, but with the support of everyone working together, we're able to kind of wrap around that family, and they're being very successful and are happy in their lives at the moment. Thank you.
We can never underestimate the importance of family and the difference a loving, consistent and stable home life can make to children and young people. But sometimes families need that extra bit of help. And today we're going to hear from the Red Oak Family Centre and Firsfield Primary School about their work with a family, and from the Family Support Programme run by Guildford Borough Council, and a bit about reducing parental conflict training that we have available so that families can understand the importance of a good, strong relationships in their home.
We made it.
Hi, Mum. Hi, darling.
Sorry we're late.
You are late. What happened to your hair? Didn't tell me you were getting a hair done, David.
What? She looks great.
That's not the point. You should have told me.
About what? Same old story again. This week, you didn't have... We took her for a haircut.
We?
Oh, here we go.
Is this Lisa's doing?
Why do you always have to bring Lisa into this?
Because you never used to do things like this before you met her.
It's a haircut. She stayed at her mate's this week. You didn't tell me about that.
I did talk to you, David.
Here we go again. It's the same old story.
Right, that's it. She's not going away with you for half term.
Don't be ridiculous. Of course she's coming away with us.
I can't believe I lost it so easily. It's like you do it on purpose.
I don't mean to. It's just so easy to wind up.
I'm just trying to keep on top of things. If we want this to work, we're going to have to talk to each other.
Sometimes things just come up.
Look at Chloe. Caught in the middle of all this. No wonder she's struggling at school. We're always going to disagree, aren't we?
Probably. It doesn't have to involve her.
What could we have done differently?
We made it.
Hi, Mum. Hi, darling.
Sorry we're late.
You are late. What happened to your hair? Didn't tell me you were getting a hair done, David.
What? She looks great.
That's not the point. You should have told me.
About what? We took her for a haircut.
We?
Oh, here we go.
Is this Lisa's doing? Stop. Stay calm. You look great, sweetheart. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Do you have a nice weekend?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you go upstairs and unpack, and then I'll come up and you can tell me all about it.
Okay. Bye, Dad.
Bye, love. Pass me off then.
Wait. I want to talk to you.
Okay.
I know you want to make the most of your time with Chloe, and that's great, but you can't be making big decisions without talking to me.
The haircut. It's hardly a big decision.
It would have taken you 5 seconds to send a text. That's all I'm asking.
Hang on. She stayed at her mate's last week. You didn't text me about that.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the kind of thing we should tell each other about.
That went better. I couldn't see what was happening.
We can't keep talking about this stuff in front of Chloe.
It's not fair enough.
I find it hard when Lisa gets involved. I'm happy for you that you've moved on. But it's hard knowing there's someone else in Chloe's life.
She cares about Chloe a lot, you know. But I guess it is a bit weird. I'll always put Chloe first.
We've just seen an amazing video actually showing how much that conflict can have on a child. and how they can be caught up in the middle of all of this anxiety and how the impact affects them. So what are we doing to support our parents? And what are we doing to support our practitioners in helping parents identify this? So we have a programme called Reducing Parental Conflict, and this has come and been led by the Department of Work and Pensions, and it's gone across all local authorities in England to integrate services and approaches which addresses parental conflict in local services for families. Now, parents play a critical role in giving their children the experiences and skills they need to succeed. However, children who are exposed to poorly resolved parental conflict can suffer long-term harm. And the key here is poorly resolved conflict. All parents argue at times. It's about how they deal with that it's important, and how they understand the impact that it might have on children. The evidence is clear that exposure to frequent, intense and poorly resolved parental conflict can affect children's emotional and social development, educational attainment, later employability and physical and mental health. Conflict can affect children in all types of parental relationships, which includes parents or carers who are in relationships with each other, whether married or not, parents who have separated or divorced. And this is often a big problem when parents are separated and use the children almost as weapons against each other in court cases. Biological or step parents and foster and adoptive parents, same-sex parents. It's continuous, and it is the children that we have to focus on throughout all of this. So we're using some methods as tools for discussion, as points that parents might not have thought about, and how it might help them to start thinking differently. So we're supporting parents to use their own skills. So agreeing to negotiate is one of the things that they might not have even thought about. So usually our first angry impulse is to push the point that we're right and win the argument at any cost. But finding a peaceful resolution can be difficult, if not impossible, when both parties stubbornly stick to their guns. If it helps everyone decide as a family to try listening to each other and negotiating instead. Some suggestions could include work out if the issue is worth fighting over, try to separate the problem from the person, try to cool off first if you feel too angry to talk calmly. Keep in mind that the idea is to resolve the conflict and not win the argument. Remember that the other party isn't obliged to always agree with you on everything. Define the problem and stick to the topic. Respect the other person's point of view by paying attention and listening. And talk clearly and reasonably and responsibly. Try to find points of common ground and agree to disagree. These are some of the issues that we think, some of the solutions and some of the tools that you can work with parents to help them to look at things in a different way. So we know that the prevalence of parental conflict is really high. Out of all children living in workless couple-parent families, that's 5% of all children, 28% live with parents who report having a distressed relationship. That's almost 3 times as prevalent compared where both parents are working. And this is really quite a visual slide actually, which really says it all. And actually what we want to do is help parents resolve this before it has a real big impact on their children. No parent would willingly want that for their child. So the importance is to highlight the impact it has on their children before they realise it. So accessing the training for this is really easy. You've just got to contact myself, Karen Yields, Parenting Coordinator, at karen.yields@surreycc.gov.uk, and my telephone number 07968 833 381, and I can put you on the training as soon as I can. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, my name is Jane Chappell and I'm the manager here at the Red Oak Family Centre attached to Firstfield Primary School. We've been invited here today to talk to you about how we help families early by recognising need early and helping families to manage the challenges that they are facing. To that point, I have two colleagues here with me today to share an overview of a case study of a family that they have supported. Karen, a family support worker attached to the Red Oak Family Centre, and Linda, the homeschool link worker attached to Firstfield Primary School. Karen will now give a brief summary of a family who were referred into the Red Oak Family Centre and how the family was supported in recognising and also accepting help early, and the positive outcomes for the family within their local community.
The family were referred due to mum suffering from emotional abuse from her ex-partner. This severely impacted on her mental health and ability to safeguard her children from witnessing the abuse, as well as not being able to meet their emotional needs effectively. We completed an outcome star which enabled us to discuss the challenges that mum had been facing and how this had been affecting her well-being. It enabled mum to reflect on her situation and identify the support she required. Through discussion and completing the outcome star, we worked in partnership to create an action plan and set achievable goals. It identified that she required support with her current financial situation, her well-being, keeping herself and the children safe, and meeting their emotional needs effectively. Mum and I met weekly to discuss the actions from the previous week. Mum began to implement changes to safeguard the children and strategies to managing challenging behaviour, enabling her to meet the children's needs effectively. With encouragement and supporting with parenting strategies, Mum began to build a positive relationship with her daughter. Mum found this very beneficial and continued this weekly as she began to recognise the benefits. I provided Mum with information on additional agencies such as ESDAS, Citizens Advice Bureau, and explaining how they would be able to support her. Through encouragement, Mum began to engage with the community debt advice. This enabled her to build her confidence, and where she became stronger, she felt more resilient. Mum began to understand that her ex-partner's behaviour was unacceptable and that the impact this had had on her. Therefore, she became confident and implemented firmer boundaries. This had a positive outcome for Mum and the children, as their well-being and emotional needs were being met effectively, as they were not being exposed to emotional abuse. And Mum began to build positive relationships with the children, becoming confident with her parenting. Throughout her relationship, Mum had become very isolated, and through gaining confidence, this enabled her to take the initiative to meet new friends and build up a network of friends. Mum had been promoted at work, which had a positive impact, and she is now able to make plans to aspire for the future for herself and the children.
Linda will now discuss how the school recognises the need for help early and share an overview of a child who is supported and the challenges faced by the child, the family and the school.
Good morning. We were first made aware of the family's concerns when Mum had contacted myself. The first instance was to arrange a meeting with myself and the Mum. Mum had revealed that the child during lockdown had considerable anxieties, and these had grown worse, and the fear of coming back to school was getting worse and out of control. I advised Mum to seek her GP for a CAMHS referral as school was closed at this time. I also advised Mum to book onto the Managing Children with Anxieties course at the Red Oak Family Centre. Mum was also advised of some strategies that she could put into place that can help her and the child at home. The class teacher was made aware of what the child was going through and the family altogether. We asked the parent if there was anything that school could do in particular to help the child manage coming back to school. We also asked the parents to complete a strengths and difficulties questionnaire. This would reveal if the nurture staff, which we have a trained ELSA working there, could do an intervention with the child. On completion of the strengths and difficulties questionnaire, it was apparent the child needed draw and talk. This is a 12-week programme that the nurture team and the child will do together once a week. It was also apparent that the child needed reassurance when returning back to school, so the nurture staff team would meet the child in the morning with a happy smiley face and make sure the child was okay and getting into class. We will continue to monitor this situation, with myself having regular meetings with the parents and for school to monitor the child during the school time. This way we hope that the child will overcome her anxieties and get the advice and support that she's needed.
Thank you for your time this morning as we shared how we, along with our partners, help children, young people and their families build on their capacity through empowering them to achieve positive outcomes and move forward. Thank you very much.
Everybody, my name is Vicky Grinter. I am one of the senior family support coordinators for the South West Surrey Family Support Programme. This is my colleague Jess. I'll let Jess introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Jess Shepherd. I'm one of the family support coordinators with Vicky.
So today we're just going to share a little bit about the South West Surrey Family Support Programme, a little bit about how it was set up, what we currently do, and then I'll hand over to Jess, who will do some information on a case study, a recent family that we've supported, and some feedback that families have provided us with. So the Family Support Programme was initially set up in 2012 as part of the Troubled Families Agenda, which some of you might remember, and this aimed to turn around families in England, and the general premise was to try and save taxpayers' money. Things have evolved quite significantly since then, and we now sit within the wider early help offer to families within Surrey. So in terms of what the support that we offer, so we generally offer intensive support, which is a whole family approach. We do like to work whole family because, you know, we look at the relationships within the family and how certain issues are impacting on everybody in that household. But the priority really is focusing on positive outcomes for the children. In terms of referrals to the Family Support Programme, all referrals come into the CSPAR. And if the CSPAR and the Early Help Hub believe that Family Support Programme are the most appropriate source of support, then they will pass that on to us. So I'm going to hand over to Jess to talk about a recent family that Jess has supported and give us just to show you a picture of how that works in reality.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. So yes, we thought it would be good to give you guys a case study to kind of really understand the sorts of families that we support, the types of complex needs that we are dealing with, what our support looks like, and the positive outcomes that we have with our families. So the case study that I'm going to talk about is one that I worked with recently over the summer, so over lockdown, which made things a bit more complex, as I'm sure everyone is experiencing at the moment with family needs. So this family was made up of a mum, dad and two children, one aged 13 and one aged 14. So over lockdown, sadly, the mum and dad had separated acrimoniously to start with, and were in different households. And mum had also reported that there was abuse from dad as well. The reasons for the referral was the dad had rung in to MASH with concerns of not having regular contact with his children, which he was not happy about, and also alleged emotional neglect and abuse to the children from mum, and there was parental disputes. There was reports from police having been called with parental disputes, and obviously the impact that was having on the children, as the children were often present for these. So what were we able to do? So the first port of call really was to meet with mum, meet with the children, get a better picture of what was going on. The majority of the support was given to mum. She was the one that wanted to engage with support and had different areas that she wanted. Was able to meet one-to-one with the children, with one of the children to kind of gather the views. The other child didn't want to, and of course we have to respect their wishes with that. And there was contact made with dad to see what support he wanted, if any, and if he wanted, you know, to be linked in with everything as well. We also did a referral to the local Citizens Advice Bureau for support with managing the debt. So that was really helpful. They kind of had decided that due to the debt, that a debt relief order would be appropriate for this mum to kind of give her a clean slate to move forward. They also supported with making sure she was on the correct benefits, and you know, also having the correct support for council tax as well. So the important bits, what were the outcomes? So we managed to reduce the conflict between parents. So as soon as that non-molestation order was put in place, conflict really reduced with this family. The couple were able to communicate only for the sake of arranging contact with the children, which was really positive. And I think the children were obviously, you know, a lot happier with that. So that was, I think, you know, a positive example of how well our service can work and support with families with complex needs. Through doing our own feedback over, you know, the years, we've had some really positive comments that we thought we'd like to share to just give you an idea of, you know, how important our support can be to families when it's at the right time of when they need it. The support was like a lighthouse that brought our family together again. It saved us as a family. I can't thank your team enough. Without your help, we will still be stuck in a rut. So those are some, you know, lovely feedback that we've had from our families that we support. And this is what our aim is, and this is why we love our jobs, and this is why we do it. Thank you for listening, guys. We hope you found it helpful.
When families connect to the community around them, they begin to find their own way to help their children grow and achieve. Today we're going to hear about the local conversation in Stanwell. We're going to hear about Surrey's Little Help Shop and how we can help families to navigate their way to find the support that they need. And from Child and Family Health Surrey about some of the projects that they're doing to support families.
Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Guy, product owner for the digital project with the working title of Surrey's Little Help Shop. We have a commitment in Surrey to helping families early, and Surrey's Little Help Shop is part of this commitment. The council has identified the need to make it easier for parents, carers and everyone working with children to find helpful information, advice and support for a child. The digital design team aim to create a digital solution that helps navigate the complexity and scale of information we're faced with when looking for help, and increasing ability to access the right support at the right time. We've been following agile and user-centered design processes, meaning that we're focusing on what our users tell us they need and using this information to develop in bite-sized chunks that we can take back to them for validation. We're also collaborating with our multi-agency and third sector partners, feeding their insights in at the right times as the project progresses. So far, our user research team have engaged with 18 members of the council, 12 third-party partners and 20 parents, and their analysis has identified a series of user needs, including, as a user, I'd like to be able to easily navigate, explore and search for information. And as a user, I want information to be presented as tips, advice and recommendations. And it's these requirements that we're testing in our prototype, which I'll now share with you. So this first prototype is for research purposes only. It's not a fully operational product, it's simply a tool for helping us learn about what our users need to get them to the right information quickly. We're testing the idea that users search in different ways, depending on whether they know exactly what they're looking for. So we're testing two search options. The first, for those who know what they're searching for, offers a search box. Standard stuff, type in what you're looking for and a results page will pop up. We would like to be able to test if being able to filter results by media helps our users consume this information. I'm going to click through to an article. On our article pages, we're going to be testing different functionality, including how best to present related information, how to present locality-specific courses and services, whether videos are useful, feedback, and whether other articles are found helpful. For those who don't really know how to begin their journey to information, we're testing a guided search. As they click on each section, they're guided to another question, narrowing the search down until the system surfaces relevant content. The idea is to design a product that's accessible, easy to navigate, and quickly surfaces up-to-date, relevant information, advice and support that connects families to the right services, whether offered by our voluntary faith and community sector, health, education or social care. If families get help early, it means that fewer children will need statutory or specialist services. Better for families, better for communities, and better for us. This is our aspiration, but as we've described, the user-driven nature of the project means we don't yet know what our final solution will be. As each step is tested, the solution will change in response to feedback, but I look forward to keeping you updated as the project progresses. If you have any questions or would like to get involved, please email surreylittle.helpshop@surreycc.gov.uk. We'd love to hear from you.
Hello, I'm Sally Rogers and I'm leading on setting up a new NHS team called Community Health Early Support, or we're calling it CHESS for short. So we've set this up based on feedback from our families, and we decided to think outside the box of traditional health professional roles, and we decided to create new roles called Early Years Health Practitioners. This pulls together the practical skills and knowledge from across our health visiting, our nursing and our therapy teams so that we can support families in a range of areas. So behaviour management, feeding, sleeping, language, play are just some of them. We're going to be working with families and their children after their 12 months developmental check. We chose this time as families have told us that this is when they might begin to notice that their child is different, or that things might not be right, or not developing along expected lines, and that waiting until the next health visitor check at about 2.5 is just too late for them. And families have said that this is the time parents, they have said they would like more emotional and more physical support for them as a family as well. So as well as supporting with the areas I've mentioned before, we're also going to be available to work in families' homes alongside parents and within their communities. So places like libraries, family centres, toddler groups, anywhere that children go. We will help with referring children with more specialist needs to other teams so that they can also provide support early as well. So we're going to have really strong links with lots of different teams working in early years. We'll be creating new opportunities for families to link up with each other, like doing drop-ins or virtual play dates or maybe some coffee mornings. But of course, this is all dependent on COVID guidance. But we're going to have a go. And as well as having regular contact with our early years colleagues, we're going to be working closely with the Early Help Hub at the C-SPA to ensure families are accessing the health support that they need. So to make sure that we're making the most difference, we're going to be using evidence-based factors, risk factors. For example, we're going to be asking about family history of any learning difficulties or any speech and language difficulties, and we're going to be seeing how the child is progressing and keeping a note of certain areas. So, for example, their attention and their behaviour. And we're going to be working, we're going to be closely monitoring outcomes. We're going to be gaining feedback from our families, as well as gathering developmental data when the child reaches 27 months to see whether or not we're making a difference. But something else I'm wanting to speak to you about is something else I've been involved with, because we've also been designing some training for the voluntary sector. As part of Closing the Word Gap, which is a national campaign, we have been working closely with our colleagues from Surrey Youth Focus to design some bespoke speech, language and communication training for volunteers working with early years children in Surrey. And we hope to start delivering this virtually at the end of November. So we're making the most of all this new virtual way of working. Our key message when we do this training is that everyone has an important role to play to support children with the lifelong skill of communication. And this, of course, impacts hugely on children's ability to make friends and succeed at school. And all of that is very close to my heart because I'm a speech and language therapist as well. Thank you for listening.
Hello, I'm Jo Neville, a practice teacher for health visiting working in Children and Family Health Surrey. I've been asked to talk briefly about the offer and the impact of the Solihull online parenting guides. Children and Family Health Surrey have worked in partnership with Surrey County Council since September 2018, offering free lifelong access to all Surrey residents to online courses for parents, parents-to-be and carers. This first slide shows the information that we give to parents and carers. Parents register online via the Surrey County Council or Children and Family Health websites. The rationale is that it offers early support to all parents and it enhances the face-to-face contacts that we have with children and families. It applies key messages of research for parenting and adds to parents' understanding of their child and the importance of their emotional relationships. There are 4 courses that parents and carers can complete. These are Understanding Your Pregnancy, Labour, Birth and Your Baby, Understanding Your Baby, Understanding Your Child between 0 to 19 years, and Understanding Your Teenager's Brain. There's also a course available for teenagers only, which talks about understanding their own brains. It's easy to use. Parents work through the modules within each course, which are interactive. There are interactive activities, video clips, and an optional voiceover. The registrants can start and stop at any time. The outcome is that there have been 1,850 registrations to the training as at the end of September 2020, and there has been positive feedback from parents. 100% of those who completed Understanding Your Baby and Understanding Your Child would recommend the guide to others, and 100% of registrants of Understanding Your Guide and Understanding Your Teenager's Brain found the guides helpful. We've also had one teenager in Surrey who completed the Understanding Your Brain for Teenagers course, and she wanted to use it to understand to herself why she felt like she did and why she was always getting into trouble. She found the online course easy to understand and felt it really helped her to understand her feelings. This is some of the feedback that we've received from parents in Surrey. The first is a mother who fed back to her health visitor. She felt it reduced her sense of isolation, helped her to understand why the changes she was advised to make to her parenting had made a difference to her child. The guides had empowered her to continue with making positive changes to her parenting to such a degree that the decision for her child to be removed has been reviewed again. Another parent booked to see the school nurse solely to say thank you for sharing the link to the online guides. This parent had concerns around settling their child at bedtime due to anxiety about recurring bad dreams. Using the advice and listening activities from the online guides, this had resulted in their child being more settled, sleeping through the night, and improved behaviour at school. As a result, the child had improved outcomes for achieving their potential at school. And lastly, comments to a health visitor from a mother. This was a mother with low confidence. Having completed the online course, the mother stated she felt much more positive in her ability to be a parent to her son and liked the practical suggestions, and that the advice is based on real-life families. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Breeze and I manage Stanwell Family Centre, which is managed by Surrey Care Trust.
My name's Claire. I'm a registered childminder. I live in Stanwell.
Hi, my name's Caroline and I'm the chair of the local conversation in Stanwell.
We want to talk about one of the partnerships, and we have many partnerships in the community, which are partnerships that are there to support the families and residents of Stanwell.
And it's just really important to us that we partnership with people like the council and the family centre and many other different networks to get the best for our Stanwell residents.
You know, Stanwell Family Centre works with lots of people. We have lots of partnerships with lots of agencies, organisations, voluntary organisations. And the reason why we do that is that by working together, by collaborating, then you're not relying on one service or another having the resources to provide all of that support. You're actually working together to create holistic resources for a large number of people in a community. It's the Stanwell Conversation Group and residents of that group, people that volunteer their time and their efforts to create what we see here today, but also have created lots of opportunities to attend activities in the community.
And we are a funded project with funds from People's Health Trust and run by the Surrey Care Trust. And the local conversation in Stanwell is made up of a steering group of residents, councillors, and just really passionate, driven people. And we deliver events and activities for local people so they have the opportunity to experience different things.
But we wanted to bring you to one of the allotments in Stanwell today because it's such a fantastic resource for the local community.
So this plot over behind us is Sue and John Doran's plots, and they are local councillors in Stanwell, and they were founding members of the steering group. And one day they were at their allotment plot and saw these two plots with head-high weeds and thought that would be amazing if the local conversation had an allotment plot. So that's how the idea was formed from them, really, and it became kind of organic and has grown from there.
We've lived and are still living through very difficult times because of the COVID virus, and that has meant lockdown, that has meant social distancing, it's meant all that we understand it to be. And because of our partnership with the local conversation group, it enables us to have space where families can come and enjoy activities around this allotment.
Through lockdown, we did many different activities and we delivered packs to residents, including VE Day, we did a baking competition, we've done sunflower growing, we've really done so many different projects, even with the pandemic and COVID-19 and all the challenges that we were faced with. And one of our activities that we did after the lockdown, our first socially distanced activity, was rock painting in the park, and everybody came down and painted a rock, and they now live here at our Stanwell community allotments.
We run play sessions over here for families to come over with toddlers through the week. We've been very, very lucky to be able to provide the outdoor space whilst so many playgroups and other places of social learning are currently closed. Where the children's play area has been fully prepared and built by local youths from Stanwell that are taking part in the Duke of Edinburgh scheme. This enabled them to complete their volunteering hours, again, whilst all the other opportunities had currently closed down due to the current crisis.
Some of the families that we support in our community don't have gardens. They don't have spaces for their children to play. They don't have spaces to grow things. And our association with the local Conversation Steering Group, which is funded by the People's Health Trust, is a fantastic resource for the community.
So we organise Saturday plays on a monthly basis, and we use the Stanwell Children's Centre, and the Family Centre is just such a special place for all ages to come to. And we also use the youth club next door, which is a fantastic resource, and we feel with both buildings being next to each other, we run over 7s and under 7 activities. And within the Family Centre, we don't move anything. We use it exactly as it is and the outside space as it is, so people can see the resource that they have available to them.
So when the Local Conversation Project acquired the 2 allotment spaces that we have here, it was great inspiration to make sure that within the plans of the allotment, a children's area was incorporated. This has enabled lots of families to come over to get involved in working here and relaxing here, with the children enjoying a safe outdoor environment.
One of our main priorities that we focus on is pride in Stanwell and our environment, and we organise litter picks in the area, and we get a group of residents together and we manage different roads and different areas, so we cover the whole area.
We have recently been awarded 3 awards in the Spelthorne in Bloom competition, which takes part every year, and we actually have won 3 first place prizes. So we have won first place for Best Community Garden / allotment. We have also won Best Environmental Planting. So because the allotment is only a year old, all the planting we have in place is all relatively new, and we've concentrated on building the allotment, and the majority of the stuff we have is donated, so lots of recycling here, and I think that's what actually enabled us to actually move forward for that prize. We've got the pond, the planting is all to attract wildlife, butterflies, bees. We were very proud to receive Best in Show, so overall winners, and it was a unanimous vote, and the decision was made because of the amount of children, families and youths that we've actually managed to reach out to and get over here in such a bad time for everybody.
Something that's really important to us is the feedback of residents and what they want to see happen in Stanwell, and we produce events and activities with what they've asked of us. So a lot of people came to our open day that we ran back in January 2020, and people came to tell us what they want to see happen in Stanwell, and we took all of that information and we spend our time delivering what they ask of us. And it's really important that not only do we listen to them and deliver it, but they can come to us and say, I would really love to see dance happen in Stanwell, or I would really love to have a craft pack for Halloween, whatever it may be, and we make it happen for them with the funding that we have.
And that's the strength of partnership for me. That's what partnership is about. It's about the connections that you make in the community. It's about the relationships that you form with different partners, different agencies in the community to come together and just create fantastic resources like this.
So there we go. Thank you so much for bearing with us. I know we've run over slightly, but what a fantastic, rich set of services that we've got supporting us as professionals, but supporting our children and families in Surrey. So we hope that today has given you a bit of an understanding of your role in relation to the Helping Families Early strategy. We hope that you've learnt a bit more about what your employer, what your colleagues, what our partner agencies are doing as a commitment to the principles of the Helping Families Early strategy. And we really hope, as Kate Nunes-Smith kicked off with, that you feel empowered to take responsibility for children, young people and families to ensure they receive the support that they need, and that we all leave here today being crazy about kids, being focused on families and connecting those families with their communities. So I don't want to run us over for too long. I just want to say a huge thanks to everybody that's helped us pull this together today. And my ask of you guys now is to say, we'd like you to make some pledges as part of the end of this summit today. And bearing in mind everything that you've heard, what we'd like to know is how you'll bring this to life in your practice tomorrow. So what will you pledge to do from tomorrow, having heard all of this wonderful stuff today? So Callum, if you go on to the next slide, the practical way that we're going to do this is on Slido, and you'll see just in the top right hand corner a QR code. Unfortunately, we're all a bit more au fait with this nowadays because of track and trace. But if you open the camera on your phone and hold it over the QR code, it will take you to a Slido page where you are able to make your pledge. So we'll leave the QR code there for just a moment, and then we'll move over to the page where we can start seeing your pledges. Okay, so working together, togetherness, we're supporting families, being crazy about kids, partnership. So all of the words that are getting bigger are the ones where you're all kind of pledging or thought the same things today. So I think we should wrap up today thinking about how we work together, all of the wonderful partnerships that we're forming out there to be crazy about kids and their families. And these are all the things that help us to support our families in Surrey early. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today. Thank you very much for bearing with us as we've had a few technical hitches and run over. And we really hope that you'll take the principles today forward in everything that you do later today and tomorrow and the next day and thereafter. Thank you very much. Take care. Goodbye.